Hey everybody, it's Schizoid Angst here, and today I am going to be doing kind of like a casual sort of like interview-ish type thing, sort of, with one of the locals of the Discord, the Zoid Void Discord, which is Garbage Queen Cynthia. And the Garbage Queen today will be answering a few questions. She will be asking me a couple of questions about whatever she comes to mind. We're going to kind of half wing it, half sort of um, not like, I guess, written down questions and things like that. And if things get weird, the more better for it. So, uh, and hopefully somebody out there can find some really relatability as far as this stuff, because not everyone relates to my shit. So that's why I like to get other people on. So Cynthia, can we just go with Cynthia? Or do you prefer Garbage Queen?
Cynthia's fine.
Okay. So
I do
since
kind of prefer Garbage Queen,
I know,
to
but
be
it's a
honest.
mouthful. But okay, Garbage Queen. We'll just go with Garbage. Or GB. How about that? Can we go with GB? Garbage Queen, short for
Gee,
Garbage Queen. GB, or do you just want the full Garbage Queen?
garbage.
Just garbage?
There we go. Just garbage.
Okay, garbage. You garbage person. So, garbage. Go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit as far as like how I guess you came across the channel and then the Discord and a little whatever you want to divulge like mildly about your own existence. Just a quick summary.
Sure. I guess I should start with like how I kind of figured out I was schizoid and then got diagnosed. I thought for a while, like I knew there was something kind of off about me. I had a lot of self-hate for a while and I kind of got over that. But I thought maybe I was BPD or borderline or a narcissist. And I actually took like a silly like online personality quiz, and all of the traits for like narcissism and BPD were pretty low, but there was something I hadn't heard of before called schizoid. Um, and so I was like, okay, I actually didn't know about this. And I just looked it up online. I found the Reddit, and a lot of it seemed more relatable than anything that I had come across before, especially like the self exile, the disconnect
The good
from
shit.
emotions. Yeah, all that basic like anhedonia shit.
All that basic bitch Zoid shit.
Yeah. Um, and then I came across Schizoid Angst YouTube videos through the Reddit. And then I started the process of going to a psychoanalyst. They gave me like a shit ton of tests, a really long one that was like 500 questions, um, just basic true or false, and schizoid was what came up, and they said I was low in basically everything else. Um, and yeah, the Discord's cool. I find a lot of schizoid angst videos really relatable. We have
Ugh. Don't talk about me in a positive light. Fuck you. But anyway, continue.
that I just said they're relatable. I didn't say that was a good thing.
Oh, good. Good. I got scared for a second. Don't want to hear
um,
positive things about me. Gross.
but we do have like a similar trait of like our anger is still
Ooh, don't
pretty
worry.
intact.
Don't bring it up yet. I got a question for that one.
Okay.
You're getting ahead of me here.
Um, that's that's basically it.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
That's it. Wow, you're fucking boring. Anyway,
I know.
yeah, but I'm
We
starting
can
to.
get into more of the fun stuff.
Okay, cool. Because like I'm starting to like based on that summary, I'm starting to regret even doing this now. But it's okay.
You
One more.
should.
It's like, well, I mean, you are the garbage queen. What was I thinking, right? Okay. So here's your first question that I have for you. And when you wanna, if you have any questions at any point, either regarding what I'm asking or just questions you had in mind for me, you just you just stick them in wherever you want, or you can wait till I'm done with my questions, or you can just put them in whenever. I don't give a shit. There's no like specific format for this. We're a bunch of mentally ill people. Like, I'm not gonna fucking hold this up to any kind of specific set of rules right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so a schizoid with strong tinge of self-aware narcissism. How does your PD conflict with any narc tendencies that you've been dealing with or always dealt with? How does being
Uh,
schizoid kind of conflict with like some
it
narcissistic
it
stuff?
mostly conflicts with bringing the like any amount of the grandiose fantasy into reality. Um, because I just get like I'll have these fantasies of doing something, and I'll have fantasies about how it'll go. Um, and I think in my head that it's doable, but then when I actually go to do it, I'm just paralyzed by the apathy of like, well, even if I succeed in this, like, it doesn't matter.
Kind of like this discussion.
Uh, yeah.
Dick.
I mean,
Well,
it's all point. I mean, like everything's pointless, but other people seem to have like an ability to have their own personal point to things, their own like internal purpose, and I just don't.
well, other people that aren't schizoid generally.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say neurotypicals.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't feel much meaning. Fuck you. Like, what do you think you are telling me I have meaning? Like a bunch of it and stuff. You don't know me anyway. But okay, so that's good. And okay, I don't really have anything more to say regarding that. Yeah, I just know that you've told me some pretty interesting stories about in the past about your kind of narcissistic views. But I can imagine what that's like. To that must be weird to like have this like self-aggrandizement like going on in there, and then it just doesn't pan out. So like I
Yeah.
just I just imagine I just imagine like even with this particular little interview or whatever, you're just like, I'm gonna show him it's gonna be the best fucking one that he ever recorded. It's gonna be amazing. I'm so interesting.
That is definitely something that's occurred to me,
Yeah, you're
but
like,
I
I'm gonna
I
be more
try to
interesting
temper
than
it.
everybody else. Like all the other six conversations are gonna look like shit compared to mine. Now
I
you're
try to temper it. I
and
do,
then you get on and you're a nervous wreck. It's just funny.
more or
Uh,
less.
okay, so next question I have. You're married, so am I. Kind of uncommon among schizoids. In fact, I've been told
Yeah.
by a lot of schizoids, like, you're not schizoid, you're married. You get pussy, you're not schizoid.
Yeah, that's really silly.
Yeah, no joke. And I'm just like, yeah, thanks, man. Like, I'm pretty sure, I'm sure you'd have a blast doing this too. But let's see here. What's that like? And what does love, I know it's an icky word, what does love feel like to a Zoid? And is it difficult or confusing? Because I know it was for me, for a variety of
Yeah,
reasons.
it's
And it's
it's
gotten better for
definitely
me. But
both.
how do you feel about just being married in a relationship and then, because you've mentioned in the past, you said, I love him. So how does love feel like to a Zoid?
I was gonna ask you basically the same question, but
Oh, we can talk about that after. That's fine. Go, but I want to hear yours
so
first.
for me, it's really hard to recognize the love in like it's hard to recognize the emotion. Like I have all of these like reasons, and I have a like abstract sense of what it is or what it means to me, but actually feeling it really only happens like once in a blue moon.
And what does that
And
feel like? Is it scary? Is it exciting? Is it titillating?
um it can be calming, I guess. Like when it happens, it feels like a little bit of warmth, like physical warmth in my chest, and
You're sure
it's
that
just
you sure that's
relaxing.
love and not a not something else splashing against your chest?
I mean, I try to.
Okay, just
I
making sure.
try to think that it is,
Okay,
but
yeah,
this is
because
actually kind of a funny thing about
I
that.
felt the
So
warmth hit my
sometimes
chest.
sometimes I'll have him like put his hand on my chest, and it basically feels the same.
As love or as the other
Yeah,
thing.
as like the physical feeling of love, it feels like the same.
So it feels similar, or exactly the same.
Almost exactly the
Okay,
same.
but if somebody else were to put their hand there, would the
Uh
feeling be the same?
no, I would just cringe away.
Okay, because it's his hand.
Yeah.
So then it is. So it doesn't make it any like
I
lesser.
mean, I think cuz
It
it's his
makes sense.
hand, I don't like shy away from it. It doesn't make me like
Well, it's intimacy that you
cringe
like.
and
It's
yeah.
intimacy that you're enjoying. And that's
It's hard to even
yeah.
talk about that.
No, yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, I know. I know it's hard for me to talk about all the pearl necklaces I get. Um, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's difficult. Like I would say it's the same for myself because you were gonna ask about me. Um, yeah, like I feel stupid like when I feel love. Like my wife's love. Like I feel like a stupid little silly animal, and
Yeah.
you know it can be a little. It's humbling. That's for sure. I can't even imagine with yourself considering because I don't have any real narky kind of tendencies. But at least that I'm aware of. Um, but the humbling nature of it is intense. In that like you said, I wouldn't want anybody else to. Well, I don't really have my wife touch my chest of all things. You know, I'm like I'm not telling my wife to come massage my breasts so I can feel love. Um, but I know exactly what you mean because and she thinks it's funny, but like I'll tell her to pet me,
Mhm.
or like touch my head, or
Yeah,
just kind
I'm
of
big
like
on like physical affection too.
yeah, but like I don't like that stuff normal. I don't really like hugs or any of that really. At one point in my life, I convinced myself I did, and so I would force myself to hug people. Because I thought this is what you do. I want to be normal human emotion connection. So yeah, that was pretty bad. That was a not good for me. But with
I never
her,
like told myself or like convinced myself I liked it, but I went through a phase where like I tried to hug my family and it was just it was so uncomfortable.
but you're like you're just like chanting to yourself, "This is good. This is
This
good.
is yeah,
This is
like I need to do
good.
this. Like I need to show
I am
affection
normal. I
somehow.
am human." But no. So like I'll ask my wife to like pet my head. Or, like I'll just lay on her lap and she'll pet my head. Um, and that feels like I guess what you're saying is that kind of love feeling. And it's only from her. And like there's certain like little things that she likes to do that I find it funny because it's almost like chimp like because she likes to groom me. Like I think a lot of girls groom their men. As far as like you know looking for like blackheads or something or just kind of like looking for like gray hairs to pull out or something like just like weird little grooming things that she likes to do. She finds them relaxing as she does to me, and I would normally hate anyone doing that, anything like that to me, even if it's like a doctor. I just don't like even being touched all that much. And
Yeah, me too.
but with her, it's fine. I don't care. Like let her do whatever she wants. I'm like super comfortable, and it's
Yeah,
funny. It's
I
funny.
think I think the people that like want to say that you're not schizoid because like you do have at least one attachment are kind of ignoring the fact that schizoids can have attachments. Like even if you're just going by the DSM, we just prefer to have very few of them or
And
none of them.
the ones we have are generally terrify us in some respect. They
Yeah.
terrify us. They make us uncomfortable, and it takes a very long time before um it's like we're like a beaten dog in this weird way, like in that sense, like not like an avoidant, but it's different. It's not really driven by fear. I don't know if I even want to say terrifying. It's more like confusing, perplexing, and anxiety causing. um it's kind of like a non-conscious fear, or discomfort. Like it's not like I'm aware of what it is. It's not like I'm thinking I'm gonna be rejected or I'm thinking I'm gonna be this or that. I'm not thinking of anything. It's just this
Think
is
like it would
yeah.
be kind of relieving to be rejected, to like to have the solid understanding that literally nobody around me wants to interact with me, nobody likes me. It would be a, a relief instead of a
Yeah.
fear.
That's definitely very different than what I've heard say avoidance say. That's like their
Mhm.
worst nightmare. I would say that nobody wants them. Um, but um, but yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And it's weird because the whole rejection thing you kind of mentioned right now. I don't know how many schizoids feel similarly, but yeah, I mean, there's been times where, and this was a long time ago, where I actually felt almost angry at my now wife because she made me like I was like, you made me fall in love with you. Fuck, I don't want this. Like like I was almost mad at them for
Yeah,
or resentful of them for making me fall in love with them because now I'm weak, now I'm vulnerable, now I'm this, I'm capable of these feelings that are confusing and shit, and like you almost feel like angry at them for it. um
it's like being stuck in the dark. Like you can't really see what's going on, but you know it's like a blind spot emotionally. So like you don't know what's going on, and that's very confusing and frustrating.
yeah, yeah, I would say that's pretty apt. It feels like they're like you're in like this giant cavern with like some kind of treasure you want in there, but it's all dark and the floor is riddled with bear traps.
Yeah,
But there's no exit. Like there's no exit. Like you have to. It's either you sit there and don't move, or you risk the bear traps. And
yeah.
and sometimes you get bored and you move anyway. But anyway, okay. Next question. Another similarity between you and myself is our ability to tap into anger. There you go. See, told you I had it. Easier than any other facet of emotion, which generally remains pretty gray. How has the anger and anhedonia been difficult thing for you? That combination of indifference yet anger still remaining.
I guess I feel like I have a lot of negative emotions pretty intact. Like I have a pretty strong disgust response. I have pretty strong anger, and it makes me feel like I'm always r- I'm I'm running from something, but I have nothing to strive for because there's no positive reinforcement, like positive emotional reinforcement. So I'm always like doing something to try and quell the anger or doing something
Yeah.
to try to not be as generally depressed or um, out of like maybe a general sense of fear. But I have no positive emotion that comes up when I've, say, like defeated these things or, you know, done. When I do something positive, I don't feel positively. I, even if it's just to like quell the anger, I feel like I should get something out of it as far as dopamine or as far as like a general sense of satisfaction, and I just don't.
Do you this is an interesting one because it just popped in my head. Do you ever get like a little bit of dopamine or good feeling when you give in to the anger?
I get that's probably like if I'm feeling pretty low one day, tapping into that anger, like getting angry about something, getting angry about politics, getting angry about the state of the world, it kind of helps me snap out of it. And I won't say I feel happiness or anything, but I it definitely pulls me out. It makes me feel less low.
But do you have any does your anger ever produce any kind of internal sadistic fantasies that relax you?
Yeah, I would say so. Like they're generally relaxing. Just to like go on a like rant. Like I have a tendency to rant to my husband about the things that I'm angry about,
You just
and
have a tendency to
it's
rant in general.
calming. True. You've encountered me many times when I'm drunk, and like that's when it's
Alcohol
at its
fueled
worst.
self-righteousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me. Like I can imagine other people that maybe aren't schizoid coming across you and finding you when you're like that to be completely, what's the word? Just belligerent and,
Unhinged.
and unhinged, completely unhinged. Well, what makes it funny is that like one, knowing you're schizoid, like I could see it's kind of like this weird like I don't know how to explain it. Like you're getting some kind of just satisfaction of out of being sounding fucking unhinged and just being just going bananas without worrying about anybody's feelings getting hurt because you're going fucking bananas. And I get that because like I feel it feels good sometimes to go bananas and just start fucking saying whatever it is that you feel so passionate about regardless of how it reflects to other people.
I
So
I have to keep a lot of stuff hidden, like out in public, out in the real world. I'm a completely different person because I know that that has like consequences.
same, yeah. My humor is the same. My humor is very crass, very jaded, very cynical, and stuff like that, and absurd often. And yeah, I have to hide my humor in a lot of situations because of that, or my views, obviously, because things get dicey in the real world,
Yeah.
real dicey, and I get that. Okay, next. Um, okay, this is what's interesting. Is that normally like I would think, oh, this kind of question's a little rough, but then I always have to like remember that I'm dealing with someone like somewhat like not like myself, but someone that has a similar kind of indifference to stuff that's I don't know. You'll just see what I mean. Okay, you have mentioned in previous conversations outside of this about self harm, and what would trigger such events of self harm, and how did you manage to take hold of those feelings of self hate? Because you also mentioned to me that you've kind of like surmounted the whole self hate thing pretty significantly in comparison to the past. So I just wanted to talk you to talk a little bit about the whole self harm triggers and self hate.
Only time I've been like significantly triggered into self-harm was when I didn't realize that I was being triggered by it. I had a friend who was doing it and I was trying to talk to them and like talk them out of it, and I didn't realize that I was being triggered at the same time, and then I like ended up like doing it kind of impulsively. But back when I was doing it regularly, I was in high school, and it was either like I was just angry about something and I didn't know how to express it. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Not that I probably did have people I could talk to, but it just isn't really an option in my mind
Mm-hmm.
um, to talk about. I don't know, like upsetting things because it just doesn't do anything for me. But I would do it basically regularly. Like it was a source of dopamine.
Was it
Um,
cutting usually or?
yeah, yeah. I didn't do anything else. It just I think I started it when I was in like a really angry state, and then I just kept doing it like every day for like a year. Just because I didn't like nothing else made me feel good, and that made me feel good.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. Every time I think of cutting, there's a I don't know if you've ever watched it. There was a show that had a pretty good depiction of it because of how hidden it could be, how like the people that you meet out on the street and the people that you meet, how there is little to no signifier that you're encountering somebody that is a severe cutter. Kind of
Yeah.
similar, to like just like a personality disorder or something. Since you can't detect who's masking or not, unless you're a masker yourself. Honestly, I've noticed that if you're a person that masks for psychological reasons, you usually have an easier time picking up if other people are doing it as well. Um, but in any case, or I don't know, or you can always almost pick up if the other person is sensing that you're doing it. I don't know. It's a weird. It's like a some kind of weird.
I think the reason that most people do it, because I have gotten good at telling, not the self harming, but like masking in general,
Mhm.
is most people do it so that they'll be liked. Like I do it because I don't want any trouble.
Yeah, it's
But
avoidant.
most people do it because they want to be liked by everybody. So their mask changes, but you can see where that starts to fall apart for them.
And well, I mean, and what's interesting though is that even the act of being liked, like I would use my charisma masks for the purposes of being liked, which weren't because I wanted to be liked, but because I wanted to be left alone. So if
Exactly.
you're liked, then you're less likely to be bothered with things. Or if you're in a work situation, if people think you're funny and they like you, then you get away with more.
Yeah.
You
Most
can
people seem
slack
to do
off
it
more.
for its own sake, and I
Yeah,
do it because it's easier, and my honestly, like, my life is pretty good in part because I'm just nice to people and I
yeah,
just keep all of my personal shit to myself.
yeah, which is in turn harmful in some respects. But but what I was gonna say is there's a show called it was an HBO show. It was called Shattered Object or Broken Objects or Broken Shattered Objects or I think it's called. Um,
Mhm.
have you heard of it? Does it sound familiar? I think it's like I would highly recommend it. Because there's a it's a show about it's like a mystery, but it also ties into like a lot of trauma, and stuff. And there's a character in it that there's hints of it, but then at some point it's revealed that there's hints that there might be some kind of cutter. Um,
Mhm.
but then at one point it's revealed that, and spoiler if you don't want to hear it, shattered objects,
Mhm.
yeah, shattered objects, um their entire body is just mutilated, like their entire back is completely
Oh, wait.
like
Are you
just
talking about Oh, no.
sharp
No, we're
objects
thinking of
sharp
Sharp
objects
Objects. I've read that book and, I know I've watched the series too. I know what
Yeah,
you're talking
it
about.
was good.
Oh, yeah, it's a really good, series.
And
Gillian Flynn is a really good writer.
yeah, and but her body was just mutilated, like from her neck, the back of her neck, all the way to her down to her waist.
Mhm.
And just mutilated with like marks as well as written words, like horrible things. That she was, self hate, like derogatory terms and such, all over her
Yeah.
back.
I've done that. Um, I've written names, but, like, not like people I was in relationships with, just like people that influenced me, um, in a sort of way. Um, I've
Yeah,
written like words and stuff.
no, yeah. And when I saw that, it was just like a reminder. Like I kind of like that in the show, and I didn't read the book, but just the what I found most fascinating is that the character was obviously a person who suffered tremendously, and in some respects they had some kind of weird, relatable. No, they weren't Zoid, but they have some relatable tendencies. The character,
Yeah.
about like emotional connection and behaviors and stuff. And what I found the most interesting is that they still were trying to do something good. Like they were still working toward a goal that was connected to them, but nonetheless would somewhat help others.
Mhm.
Um, and that wasn't the original intention. It was more of like a job and a way of like dealing with it. It was almost like a form of was it kind of what you always mention, exposure therapy that the character was doing to themselves.
Yeah.
And it turned into something a little more emotionally altruistic in some way once like more stuff got revealed, and the intention, the motivators behind the actions changed significantly throughout, like as the story progressed.
Yeah.
Like it went from like this apathetic indifference of like I need to just do this for my job and an exposure therapy type sense into something much more emotionally connected to them, to the character. So I found that to be really, really interesting. But anyway, that's just it's only the connection I made just because of the cutting aspect. How you never know who is like that, who has that kind of severity of self violence and things. Um,
Hmm. I could go on like a rant. I could write a whole book review or whatever about Gillian Flynn, and like I think a lot of the way that character is depicted has a lot to do with kind of this war between like this like femininity and the way that she deals with her issues by hiding them and just like
and
seeking to destroy herself.
yeah,
Um,
hiding them and then occasionally randomly getting her fuck on.
yeah.
Like, but really awkwardly, like the most awkward, most like it's probably one of the most awkward and most like I don't want to say disturbing, but like it made me wince like type sex situation. Like
Yeah.
especially because like they didn't
It's
want to
kind of
remove their
realistic.
clothing, they wouldn't remove their clothing or remove
Hmm.
certain articles of clothing. Um, and the person involved was just kind of like, should I ask? Should I not ask? I probably shouldn't. Okay, I'll just go with it. So yeah, that's interesting to me, and it is realistic in that sense. Yeah, like how somebody with you know still has some kind of semi intact libido, but also has a lot of trauma, deals with uh I guess arousal or something.
Hmm.
Okay, well that moves us to another topic, which is exactly that. Um, so to those that aren't into this sort of topic, skip the next couple minutes. So I know some of you hate this shit. So, hey man, you know whatever. Question number 5: Sex can be a strange topic for a schizoid, as many have little interest in the subject or an aversion to it. What are your thoughts on it? And has your mental health had an effect on how it takes place, or what works for you and your partner and what doesn't?
So it's kind of weird. I know there's a lot of sex repulsed schizoids. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like totally asexual ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I found the correct word because I actually got curious about it this morning. Um, the term cupiosexual, which refers to somebody who's interested in a sexual relationship but isn't sexually attracted to anybody. And that's basically how I feel. Like I'm interested in sex. I'm interested in doing that with somebody, but I don't feel anything towards other people as far as like I don't know, their personality in particular making me want to sleep with them or their physical characteristics. Like nothing attracts me
Well, you
to
still have
them.
your repulsion, so you probably wouldn't want to participate with somebody that's repulsive to you either.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. I've had that disgust response.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I've
saying.
been uh I've been propositioned for sex in exchange for like money, just kind of out of the blue, and the repulsion that I felt definitely made me not want to do that.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it'll still yeah, dissuade me, but it won't make me want to do anything.
Okay.
Um I feel like we have like a lot in general schizoids have a sort of master slave relations with the world. So like we feel like if we're being controlled by anything, we feel like we are the slave. It's a sort of black and white sort of thing. Um and I'm curious just for myself, like whether or not that relates to being interested in like kink. Because that is something that I'm interested in. And just like that need for control, but also a willingness to give it up out of like a sense of novelty. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what
That's
you're
just
saying.
something that's just something I've like wondered about myself. But like it's not really something I can get answers about.
Yeah, and
Do you
oh, go ahead.
do you kind of like have a similar sort of thing?
Yeah. Except for okay, so as far as the master slave aspect, I am a I have a tendency toward when it comes to that department. I have a tendency toward master power dynamic. I like dominance, severe dominance if available,
Mhm.
and it's just usually I am not. I find no kink in personal in subservience or being dominated like femdom type stuff is not
Mhm.
interesting to me at all. Um, it's just not for me. I get it, but I just don't. No, thank you. And but as far as power displays in that department, yeah, I'm very conscious of that. So and it's interesting too because depending on your relationship, obviously there's limitations that your partner is willing to participate or not participate in. And so you have to have a give or take type situation. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yes,
Would be like full control, but obviously that has limits.
yeah. Like I'm
You're
not. My
dealing with
wife
other
is not.
people.
My wife is not going to give me full control of her all her faculties for the purposes of my desire. She's not she's only interested in a specific level of like what's it called, master slave, that she's okay with. But like certain things, like I'm not gonna get into it, but certain things that are far too aggressive, or
Yeah.
semi-violent, wouldn't be something that they would want to participate in. And I respect that. And I don't
Yeah.
really need it. It's just a fantasy
Yeah.
thing. It's a fetish thing. So it's not a necessary aspect. And I don't like to use because fetish gets weird because then I guess there's a difference between fetish and philia, right? It's a fetish is a kink. Philia is a necessary aspect for one to be able to function in that department. So luckily for me, that whole power dynamic has never turned into a philia. It's not like a necessary part of it. It's just something I particularly enjoy. Um, but there's people out there that without it, they can't achieve what they need to.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
that's when it
That would
becomes a
suck.
problem. Yeah, exactly. So like, it's just and yeah, I understand that dynamic. I get why it exists. And I think a lot of it has to do with like you feel a sense. Like in my case, it would be I feel a sense of control. I feel a sense of control over another person. I feel a sense of control over my environment, and that is maybe that makes me extra comfortable to be vulnerable in some respect because I now have control. So then I can be as vulnerable or not feel vulnerable in a situation such as that. And so thus, maybe arousal mechanisms are more available and stronger.
Yeah, for me it's like I don't have an interest in being the dominant partner, but at the same time I will do this thing where I'll try stuff and I'll enjoy it or like I'll fetishize it in my fantasies. But
Mhm.
then when I actually engage in it, sometimes I get really uncomfortable and I kind of have to stop. So like
Yeah,
I'll
I
go
know
on like
exactly what you
breaks
mean.
from it. But
Yeah.
it makes me feel the same though. Like it makes me feel like somebody else is taking control for once, so I can be comfortable to be vulnerable. But it quickly gets too much, and then I go back to like, no, I need all control over my life
Yeah,
very
and
quickly.
obviously the only person that there's not it can't be just anyone that can that you would allow that. So like your husband, for example, is allowed that privilege, I
Yeah,
guess. But like even if other partners in the future were taken up, it would probably be difficult because that's kind of how I feel about that department as well. Is I have a very vivid and very large fantasy world, and that's why my taste in films and media differ greatly than what I would ever actually want to participate in. So I will watch something with multiple people involved, but I would never take place in something like that. I'm not interested at all. Zero interest. In fact, there's probably like a complete cringe. Like I want to run away from it. Get away from me. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But yet, I will gladly view it and enjoy viewing it.
Yeah.
Because it's disassociated from me. It's not connected to me. It's distant. It's voyeuristic. Because a lot of that's another thing that's interesting is a lot of schizoids are voyeuristic. I'm one of them. And when I talked to Finn S, they explained similar to me that they were kind of like voyeuristic in that conversation that I did with them. They had voyeuristic
Hmm.
tendencies. And I think a lot of schizoids have voyeuristic tendencies. From what I've read, people post and things like that. Like there's all these like fantasies, but where they'd actually take place, we'd probably run in the other direction. Um,
Hmm.
or get really uncomfortable once we're in that because the difference is that in a fantasy we have full control
Yeah.
and
Like
vulnerability doesn't exist.
my like fantasies, it's kind of funny you talk about it being disassociated from you. For
Hmm.
me, it's like I fantasize about myself a lot.
Yeah.
Um I say
Well,
like I've
there's the
explained to you
narc
before, like
tendencies. Yeah, the narc tendencies.
yeah, it's all about me and I'm basically only sexually attracted to myself.
It's
So like I'll have
hilarious.
fantasies about myself, but it's disassociated from the real world.
It's
And
funny.
that's what matters.
Yeah, like you wouldn't actually be comfortable in some science fiction scenario in a holodeck where you can les out with yourself. You'd probably be like, "Get! I don't want to be anywhere near myself." But like in your fantasy world,
Oh no,
you're
I'd take that up.
oh, you would? You just
100%.
les out?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, then,
Oh
that's the
yeah.
narc. That's the narc in you. I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, I'm good. Like I no, but you know, maybe if I was like a sexy trap, but I'm not. So
Well,
like,
we had a conversation on the Discord, I don't know, maybe a week ago about this, where like if I could have sex with like an exact copy of myself, but they had a dick, I that would be like top
hilarious.
tier.
Top tier.
That would be
Well, there you
amazing.
go. There you go. Well, I'll tell you, I don't feel the same. I wouldn't have sex with a version of myself with a vagina or a dick. I'm good. I don't need myself. But there you go. That's. I don't know if anybody out there relates to that. Throw it in the comments. Oh, which brings me real quick. Got to do the shilling. Give me a minute here. Like, sub, blah blah blah. All that shit. Do it, you motherfuckers. You need to do it,
Good
please.
for the algorithm.
It's good for
Say
the
that you
algorithm.
hate us
Yes, whatever,
in the
dude. Just
comments.
fucking put comments in there. I don't even care if it says comment. Just fucking do it. Make a fucking account. Like the shit. Hit the fucking bell so I can actually you get the notification. Otherwise, I gotta at everyone on the Discord like every goddamn time, and you can't bitch about it because you motherfuckers and none of you have social media, and I get it because I didn't have it either until like recently because of this shit. So deal with it. Also, Patreon, Subscribe Star, PayPal, Venmo, fuck, it's all in the about me. I got all of it, so no excuses for like I don't like this, I don't like that. Fucking pick one if you want. If you don't, then whatever, fuck you. Um, but I don't know what to say because like I'm so confused. Like I'm dealing with people like myself, so if somebody told me like the straight up line on the internet about like, oh, if you really like my content, go ahead and give me a Patreon. We have tier levels and all this shit. Like I'd be like, fuck you. But or I'd skip it. But like I don't know what to say to. What would I say to myself? I would say, this is important. You fuckers, help me out here so I can keep doing this because I'm the only
Let's
motherfucker
fucking
out
do it.
there. I'm the only motherfucker out there doing this at all. Like, go ahead. Like, name how many really active schizoids there are on the internet trying to fucking build a community. Go ahead. Name them for me. None. Fuck you. Make it work. Anyway, that's all. That's all. I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Uh, you said it. I think you said
Fuck, dude. Like, it's so
what makes
frustrating.
sense.
I mean, that makes sense to me if I was told that. Even like 5 years ago, I'd be like, well, fuck you, buddy, but maybe you're right. Anyway,
Yeah, that's probably the response you're gonna get.
yeah, but and that's fine because I part of the reason I'm doing this is because I don't have any I didn't have this. Like this didn't exist when I was going through the worst shit, the worst parts of my life, like in my 20s, like as far as like my mental health. So I didn't have fucking. There was nobody on the internet, much less
Yeah.
a lot as much information as there is now. So I'm just like, fuck, dude. Anyway, last question that I have for you, and then you can ask me whatever. How are you actually like? I want to know in more detail what you're in, and essentially this is my way of trying to get you to shill. I want to know in more detail what you're getting out of what you've been getting out of the server, or the videos, and like whatever else bullshit, what other bullshit I'm doing. Like, what do you more a slightly more nuanced version of what it is you're kind of getting out of it? Even if it's just you're a joke and I hate you, that's fine. But
It's
go
I
ahead.
think for me it's nice to have like a community of people that I can relate to on a level, and they seem to relate to me, where I can actually speak, I can actually be unmasked
No
and not
moral
feel like a
grandstanding.
total freak.
No moral grandstanding's nice, right? I'm not telling you what the fuck's wrong with you, freak.
Yeah.
You know, you want to
Yeah, and more
die?
than
What?
anything, like
Go
yeah,
ahead.
that shit's so annoying.
It's
God.
really helpful
Just
when
being
people
being anywhere, like, because I don't know, suicide is obvious, like, suicide and
shh, don't say
self-harm
the
and a
word.
lot of
Don't
the
say the word.
heavier
You're
topics.
gonna ruin my channel. Don't say the
Okay.
word. We're talking about a type of
Uh,
fish.
the
No,
sui the
Suicune.
sui
We
word.
mean Suicune, the Pokemon Suicune.
Suicune.
Suicune, the
Suicune.
Pokemon. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So when you talk about, cute little Suicune and
Yeah.
people give you this reaction of, uh, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like it doesn't make sense, to them and to me, like, I don't know, it seems weird to, like, never have even considered it, or to, like, treat it as so taboo when so many people do it. Uh, it's just it's just strange to me, and it's
So,
so frustrating.
something in me
But
thinks
that's not
that
all we talk about, by the way.
no,
We
no,
talk about, like,
no.
lighter
Yeah,
shit too.
yeah, like feathers. But no, but no. What's funny about what you said about Suicune there is that we're gonna start calling it Suicune anytime I do this. I think it's just funny. But it's that when you're on the server, if somebody says it, like if I hear somebody say it, my response isn't life's, everything's worth, living and doing all this stuff, and don't do it, it's a sin, or don't do it, you got so much to go with, and all this shit. Like that's the kind of shit that's not helpful here, at all.
No.
And but you know what does
It's
help
not
me?
helpful to anybody. Like, I
Some
don't.
people might find it helpful. I don't know, man. Some people just want to. They do it for like they mention it for cries of attention, and that actually like helps them like in some respect. Whatever. But what I like about our silly little community is that most of the time, like my response to somebody saying that is, "That's probably not a good idea. You should think it over, sleep on it, and
I just think about it.
yeah, like sleep on it." Or the response is usually something like, "Yeah, I get it. It's rough. Those moments suck,
Yeah.
but they usually pass. Um, so hang in there if you can. But
Yeah,
whatever."
I mean, and like the real, because I don't feel that way anymore. And the real thing that I had to do was like confront it head on. Like, okay, I'm either gonna fucking do this, like I'm gonna do it, like, there's a right way to do it that's effective, and there's a wrong way to do it that's
Yeah,
not
of
effective. And
training
it's not.
Suicune.
You
Training the
have to
Suicune. Yeah, level it up.
so you have to like you have to like give yourself that, and not just wait for another day to pass by and not actually confront why you feel that way, and like what society's done to make you feel that way, and
How much is it you? How much of it?
what
How much is it
yeah.
real? What? How much of it is it actually worth the amount of energy you're expending?
Yeah,
Allowing it
is
to
it
control you.
fixable? Like,
Mm.
whatever you're experiencing. Like for me, a lot of it was like the self-hate. And I had to do some like deep internal questioning about like where was the conflict between me and like the whole of like existence. in addition to just like society and my upbringing and like what was it about me that wasn't fitting? What was it about me that was like so horrendous or so ineffective that I felt the need to do that? And I just, yeah, I had to face it head on, and no amount of like, oh, you know, today, even like today will pass, was really going to help with the issues that I had for many, many years because it had like been going on for so long.
Yeah, all that Suicune training is difficult, and I agree because uh, and I like the
Yeah, you got the
oh
dark
yeah,
Suicune and you got the
yeah,
light Suicune,
yeah.
and
Well, this
you
is how
can
I see
confront
it.
it. You get like this bright, you know, thing that is in the background. You see all the Suicunes, you know, out there, and a lot of really dark ones, and you got to train your own so
There you go.
that you understand what it actually is.
What it means to you, and why you're training a Suicune.
Yeah.
And no, and I like the Pokemon reference. One, I'm a fan of that garbage, but the part of the reason I like it is because I think about like stuff like I don't know if anybody's familiar with this shit, but like Magikarp. You know, everyone knows Magikarp, and it turns into like this really big, monstrous, fearsome Pokemon when it evolves. But at
Mhm.
first, it's a piece of shit. It's a useless, garbage ass Pokemon that doesn't do anything good. And oftentimes I feel like, you know, when you're talking about, you know, the whole Suicune thing, is that sometimes reflections and discipline and thinking about why those thoughts are there instead of just trying to remove them or deflect them or ignore them, which I think could be harmful. Understanding them can often turn into something actually very helpful. Um,
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
so
And
letting it
like
evolve essentially
I'll
in
say
a
my like weird little piece here. Like if you're out there and you're thinking of stuff like this, take some time to like really dig into why it is. And that will take time. So you need to give yourself a while. You can't just like do it on impulse. You know, you can't do it because of one bad day or like, you know, because you lost your job or you
yeah.
broke up or
Don't train
whatever.
that Suicune just because of that.
Yeah, you've gotta actually figure out what's
No,
going
and
on internally.
the part to remember as well, and this is a legitimate fear and concern about you know Suicune training is that you might take it up and if you know you decide I'm gonna really make the Suicune thing happen. What happens, and it's happened many occurrences, if you are into how do I put this? Like I guess the I don't know how to say it without like it sounding bad. Um, Pokemon crime scene study. I don't even
Okay.
know how to like how to word it in a way. Well, Pokemon battle gym studies. Okay, you'll see that oftentimes the trainers will regret significantly their actions once that fantasy becomes a reality. And you know, oftentimes, you know, let's just say it doesn't end well, but
There's no going back, you know, once you got a
correct,
like
that's certain. Yeah, yeah,
giant dark Suicune,
yeah. You're
it's
fucked.
done.
You're fucked. You're
It's
stuck with it. Yeah, and oftentimes you may regret it, and a lot of studies and a lot of evidence has shown that many of the times that happens.
yeah,
The
like
fear, the reality of the situation, kind of like what you described with the sex stuff. Like you might think, you might fantasize about something, and then once you're in it, you immediately regret it or decide this is too much, I can't handle it. Well, that's one of those things that you can't really make that decision anymore at a certain point.
mhm.
There's no safe word.
Yeah.
That's the issue. There's no safe
It
word, and you can
it
only
doesn't
yeah.
have one. It'll just
It'll
tear
just
you apart. It'll
yeah.
just
Yeah, if you're ready for the
you
Dark
know.
Suicune to tear you apart, whether you're ready or not, it's gonna do it. Um, so that's important to note too. And that's how I think it should be talked about. Uh,
It is
uh,
kind of nice having that. It's weird because it was like a personal journey. That sounds so cliche, but it was like a personal journey for me to like train it in the way that
Gay?
that
That's
was
not.
ultimately it ultimately ended up being beneficial. Like I can look back on the way that I've thought about things, and I have more insight because of it. But like you said, once you got the dark one, you're done.
That's it. That's the only
Like
Pokemon
it's
you're ever gonna
everything's
train.
done.
That's the last Pokemon you're training. That's it. That's the last one. You can't get any more rosters filled. Um, in any case, do you have any questions for me? Sorry, I was fixing something. Do you have any questions for me, Cynthia, or Garbage, or GB, or whatever? You piece of shit. Tell me what questions you have for me.
um
If you have any at all.
so I think like one of the main ways that or like one of the core things about my form of schizoid or whatever my like core mentality is this internal feeling of emptiness. Um, and I've always felt it very like physically, but I know that a lot of people don't feel it physically. They just feel like I don't know their personhood is empty. I was curious if you have like any of that sort of feeling.
Um, it's weird. I was going through some of that when I was saying recent years because I was struggling with trying to identify what was me, even before the diagnosis. Identify what was me and what was a mask. Um, and so, because of that reason, like I had this fear that there was nothing underneath it all. And initially it felt that way. It felt like there was nothing there. That like all of it was a mask. All of it was a facsimile I'd created of a person that doesn't exist. Like I don't actually exist. Um, and the more I tempered like and disciplined my ability to like look into what actually drives me, the things that actually I can actually feel, even if they're not as strongly as like everyone else's. When I can find them, and even if they can't really be expressed very well externally or at all, that's when I started to tap into the person or fill that void or that feeling of emptiness like that. But as far as it being a physical feeling, I mean, unless it feels like panic attacks and anxiety, I can't quite relate because a lot of my panic attacks were existential when I was younger because of that reason. I felt like there was nothing there, um, and so if I felt like if I dug any deeper, I would find like a shallow grave. So
Hmm.
and yeah, it was a terrifying thing, and it wasn't until realizing that there didn't necessarily have to be much there. All I needed was a base, and then I could grow it from there. Like if I find a shallow grave, I just all I have to do is plant some seeds. It's still dirt, it's still mud. You could still fertilize it, and you could still grow flowers out of a grave. So, and that's kind of how I saw it, and that's kind of what I did. I found remnants of things that I could plant, um, in that dirt, and over the course of years, I've been trying to grow it and grow a personality, like the real self. And it's interesting. It feels like it's baby steps, honestly, and it's scary because initially it's terrifying because when you get there, you might find nothing or feel like you found nothing, but like almost like just like an abandoned like shack or something with like no people, nobody inside living there, but just like signs of somebody once living there or squatted there. You get me? And
Yeah,
you gotta just make a history out of it and figure out how you could basically like it's like a personality do-it-yourself project. Or that kind of situation. And some of you might find more there than others if you ever reach that point, but the point is to try to reach it and regardless of what you find, it's always something there, and you could just build from there. And if there's nothing there, shit, just make it up. You'll figure it out. You'll find stuff.
Yeah.
You'll get rudimentary aspects of yourself that you'll find in there, and then just build from that. Like build a base and go from there. Um,
Yeah.
and,
I
but
mean, nobody is completely empty.
no, it just feels that way,
But yeah,
especially for
I've
us.
noticed that my like physical feeling of emptiness isn't as common. I think more often than not, people feel like that they're just yeah, like they as a person are empty, and maybe this is like where my narcissistic type traits are kind of good because I've always been attached to myself in a way, even if it was like an intense, like self-hating sort of way. I've always been like a little bit self-obsessed.
So it's
So
not
I've
empty.
always
There's
known.
still hate. It's not
Yeah,
empty if there's
exactly.
still hate. Yeah, and I agree. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was just thinking like uh yeah, I definitely have like a strong sort of attachment to myself, and maybe that's why I feel it more physically and less less like I am an empty person.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's another relatable thing for me. Is that um, when I dug around, well, the only scary part about, I guess, I didn't really find emptiness. The part that bothered me, and I still struggle with, and I've talked about it in that last anger sort of video, and also in the darkness video I had done, is that I found a very strange monster in there. I found like a creature in there that's like some representation or like like some aspect of myself that got shut away, and it's like scary but at the same time alluring, and it's there, and something about it, I think it's scary because it's very negative and very angry, but it's alluring because it feels like something, and that in itself is captivating to me in some respect because
Yeah.
yeah. So and that's what I've had to temper the most, is like when I started digging into myself more, is finding that thing and then going, okay, well, I have to chain this sucker up. And then when I found the good stuff, I was like, okay, so I got to grow the good stuff, chain this fucker up for now, and then once the good stuff is strong and can control it, then maybe train this dark fucker to not bite everything and not want to consume everything around it, and maybe show it like some love. So self love, I guess, or whatever.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like, but yeah, there's definitely a like an alluring sort of like darkness inside of me that I like, almost like I have a sense like this, like it's almost like looking over a cliff, and you get that, well, I forgot what the feeling is called, where you get the pull into the void.
Void.
What is it, put the pull into the void or whatever,
The call of the
the call
void.
of the void, yeah. I get the call of the void from that anger, from that monster. It like
Yeah,
wants, yeah.
I've explained this on the Discord before, but
Hmm.
have I talked to you about like the pit of like the schizoid and the pool of narcissists?
I don't think, but go ahead briefly, do it.
Um, so basically, the schizoid is more like the character of narcissist than an actual narcissist is, because the narcissist needs people to validate their self reflection. They need people around them to tell them that they're great. The schizoid is looking into like this empty pit or this pool of themselves, and they're captivated by it, and they don't want to look away, and so they spend all of this time alone and all of this time in fantasy or self-reflection, which the fantasies are basically a form of reflection of the self. um, and they're just stuck looking into it, and it calls to them constantly, and that is something that I read about early on when I was figuring out what schizoid was, that I really related to.
I think it's almost like you find the emptiness, both um like there's a misery to it, but also a comfort.
Yeah.
Like the void, you look, yeah, you see the void that both terrifies you and also is comfortable because it's so familiar. It's like
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of like living in some like dark cave where all you have to eat is like fungus on the walls or moss, and then there's an outside world full of like you know all kinds of happy things and interesting things, and there's all this cool stuff out there, but even if you step out, you always want to go back to your moss. You always want to go back to the cave and eat your moss, like because that's comfortable, because out there there's a bunch of shit that's so confusing and weird, and you're better off inside, isolated and with your fucking kind of like the that game I've been playing, The Longing. You rather just be there, like you rather just be in your little underground cavern with your things. Um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
love that game.
well, it's really cool. But that void, I get the whole call. It's a different kind of call of the void. It's it's weird because the void is almost reassuring when in most instances it's just terrifying to most people. Um, it's just and so maybe that's why I find the anger and the rage that exists within what is essentially a vacuum for every other type of emotion. I find that call as well. Mine isn't necessarily a void. Mine is like a fucking volcano. But I get what you're saying. It's just like the anger and rage is comforting and familiar.
Hmm.
And that's not healthy.
Yeah. Well, like
Just
the
as
the
void is not.
analogy, the analogy has been like really helpful for me because I can actually recognize emotions better by realizing that I've been looking into that like pool or that pit for so long, but I've been like trying to analyze it. Like I've been trying to either like fill it up with something or like get rid of it or
Yeah.
study it, and instead I just need to like actually feel it. And I've been able to recognize like more nuances in emotion
There you go.
because of that.
Cool. There's hope out there, you fucks. Stop fucking doom pilling your fucking self, man. Like black pilling. We can't black pill ourselves constantly. It's fun sometimes. Like I like black pilling myself sometimes, but man, we can't OD on it. Don't OD on your black pills is what I'm trying to say. Take an occasional white pill. It'll help you out. Kind of balance that shit out. Um all right, well, thank you for the convo. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Not really.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
I am also good. I am drained, and not in a bad way. It's just it's been a long day for me today. I'm sure for yourself already. All right. Thanks a lot for anybody listening. Again, the usual shit. Give me your fucking money. Give me your fucking money. Give me your fucking money. So that I could just do this all the time and help, I guess, or whatever. It sounds stupid. I don't even like saying help. Support just sounds so dumb, but you get
But
what I'm saying. You get
true.
me. You get what I'm saying.
It's true. It's
Whatever.
dumb but true.
Whatever, but whatever. The thing that's helpful, and people are telling me it's helpful. So fuck you if you think I'm stupid, because I'm being told it is. It's not just me. I'm not just crazy, but well, I might be. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for listening. Till next time.